Well, hello everyone. It's good to see you today. And we are going to be talking about how to build community. And the reason that we're talking about how to build community is because it is something we know is so important. We teach it to our job seekers, we teach them how to do this. And yet it's something we don't think about enough, perhaps in terms of our own career and our own business. And we may even love to have some new language for our clients and some new ideas for our clients of how they can build community. So say hello if you're joining me here today. Let me know where you're joining from and drop a little note in there for me if you attend frequently. We'd love to hear that. And if you're watching the replay, feel free to drop that in the chat as well. #replay. We always come back and say hello to those of you that watch us later. So we're going to be talking about community and how this matter. Why does this matter in our world, in our job seekers world, in our business and in our careers? And we're also going to be talking about some research because as you know, we are here every Tuesday doing the Trend Tuesday Live where we talk about data and trends, and sometimes we revisit something that's been a trend for a while because it starts to be talked about more and we see it coming around and we think, okay, let's go back and talk about why that's so important. So you can find us on YouTube. On our live tab is where these drop every Tuesday. We also have some videos on our other tabs, and you can follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you love to hang out. We'll talk about that a little bit today, right? That's how we think about and how we start to do community. So say hello in the chat. Love to hear from you and get my chat up so I can see it when you say hello. We've been talking about community for a while. In fact, the graphic that I shared from McKinsey, so there was a McKinsey report that came out a couple of years ago that talked about the progression of marketing from, kind of your very basic marketing, this is what we do, et cetera, to the personalization era where we try to personalize what we do and meet the needs of our customers. And we're going to keep that. That part is still really important. But now we've moved into this community era. And this started really maybe even a little bit before COVID, and then COVID accelerated it a little bit, where people building communities have been more successful. So starting probably right after COVID, I took a program in membership development. And we have a membership. We've had a membership for a really long time, our Career Thought Leaders Associate program, lifetime membership. And that was starting to feel like the quarterly meetings and just wasn't enough support for people, especially during COVID. I'd had the idea for a while to do something a little bit different. And then when COVID hit and people were really saying they needed more, I found this program that taught people how to create memberships and just saw how explosive it was, right? How much people were just enjoying building these communities and how they were building great businesses, programs, organizations, even job searches off of this topic of community building. And so as usual, just okay, put all these pieces together and figure out how can this benefit the organizations that we work with, the individuals that we work with, and your business as well. So we started teaching that in our digital branding class a couple of years ago, how to build community digitally, because of course during COVID, that was the only way. And now we've just seen this opening up of community. So I'd love also if you drop a note in the chat. What communities are you seeing your job seekers get engaged with? What communities are you getting engaged with, digital or in person? Because of course we've enjoyed the in-person communities that have come back as well. So say hello, let me know you're joining, and let's talk about this important piece of community. So I'm going to talk about 3 ways that you can build community, and they're a little bit expandable and portable so that you can apply them in a way that works for you. They encompass the idea, the concept. So sometimes it's easier to see it for other people than ourselves. Let's think about our job seekers and what we tell them is the best way to job search: networking, community building. How do they do that? think about some of the ways that you tell them they can build community. And you probably have a good list there for yourself of ways to think about building community as well. I want to talk a little bit your thoughts or how you implement it in your world, or how you help job seekers implement it in their worlds, because that's where the rubber hits the road. This is not something that is not known. It's oftentimes something that's not done because we get in our own way about it, or it's just not core to our business and our marketing. And that might be something we start thinking about doing differently. The first thing for our community is really basic. You have to have their information. You have to be able to contact people. So although we might talk about social media groups and some of those things as ways to build community, I'd encourage you to think about, as you start building your community, to collect people's contact information outside of that group. So have them fill out a form or do something when they join your LinkedIn group or your Facebook group or whatever it might be, even if it's free, because tomorrow LinkedIn could shut down your group or shut down your profile. Facebook could shut down your group, shut down your profile, and you don't really have a community if there's no way for you to keep that community when that platform disappears. So make sure that you're building a community that is platform agnostic, right? That is really your community. So if you're working with job seekers, you want to encourage them to do the same thing. If they're connecting with people on LinkedIn, are they storing those actual emails somewhere so that they could maintain the relationships if that platform goes away? Because the focus is the relationship, not the community, or the focus is the relationship and the community, not the platform or the number of followers or something. That those can be distractions to the real purpose here, which is your relationship, which requires the ability to communicate. Though as you're just getting started, especially if you're just getting started thinking about this idea of building community, I'd encourage you to find a place where you can store information outside of the platform. Whether you're building a LinkedIn newsletter, or even just commenting and engaging with people on a social platform, how could you make sure that you have their contact information outside of that platform as well? And you'll see businesses doing that, right? They have a chat bot or they have something that gets your email address so that they can stay connected with you. Now, one big thing when we're talking about doing this, especially if you're in business, do not auto subscribe people to your email list just because they connect with you on social media. That should be a two-step process. So I can ask for your email to join my Facebook group, which we do for our career colleagues Facebook group. We do not auto subscribe you to our newsletter. We send you an email saying, thank you for joining the group. If you'd like to stay up with the news, here's the page to sign up for the newsletter. The whole reason of getting their email is to stay in contact. You want to do that in a relation-based way, not in a shoving spam down your throat kind of way. So you could still email those people, but you want to do it more thoughtfully, what they call a nurture sequence, towards being in your newsletter or whatever it might be that you've got as part of your community. So getting their contact information is the first thing. And I say that first because you want to think about doing that no matter what you do in the next part of what we're going to talk about. So get their contact information. Now, we are leading up to what we do every quarter or so, 3 times a year. We do a free preview of, well, not free. We do a preview of our Career Industry Authority Week. And you have to decide what you want to do. We've decided not to do very many things for free because then you get a lot of emails and you expect a lot of people, you change your technology, and then people don't show up. So we do small fees for most of the things we do so that people have a little skin in the game and they'll show up for whatever it is that they've said they'll do. As the climate has shifted post-COVID, you've seen a lot of businesses move towards that, where it's more of a they call it low cost offer rather than a freemium where you get something for free, but then you have to pay for the rest of it. And the reason that they do that is because with the culture change in COVID, people are more likely actually to do something that costs a little bit, and they're more likely to show up. You'll get a higher show up rate when they pay for something. So I love doing that. I love doing our preview week. We get to meet the community. You get to learn about the community, and of course, because you are paying a little bit, you get some content. So we've got two content modules that you get during the week, as well as the invaluable mastermind sessions with our community, who is a bunch of experienced career services providers and business owners, as well as some that are newer to the industry or newer to business. So we do that every few months to get people into the community, to let them see what it's all about, and to have some fun, because it's fun for our new members as well as the members who've been in it a while, to meet those people that are just coming in. So then you've got to decide, what platform do you want to build your community on? And you can build your community on an existing platform like LinkedIn or Facebook groups, or LinkedIn groups. But I want us to think about that you don't have to necessarily have a group place to build community. So you are building community on LinkedIn if you've got a regular group of people that you engage with on a regular basis. Not talking about a pod. Sometimes, we talk about a pod on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn doesn't like pods. Actually, they don't care anymore. But a pod is more where, like, you all agree that you'll log in at 8:00 and everybody will comment on everybody's post at 8:00 to try to boost their post. That's one thing. But a community would just be that I regularly go and engage with Shelly and Aaron and Sarah and Murray and Arthur, right? I've got a community that I'm building on LinkedIn, and maybe that builds towards an actual group or list or something, but it can also build community just in the way that I engage and comment and stay consistent with that communication. Now, you may want to build an actual community. We do have a community on Facebook, our Career Thought Leaders colleague group. If you're interested in that, drop a note. It's free. You come in, great conversations going on there. And then we decided to build our paid communities on Mighty Networks, because we own the information, we own the email addresses, and yes, we have to pay for it, but they can't just shut down our account tomorrow like Facebook can. So that's where we chose to build our paid communities. And there are thousands and thousands of other options. We went through quite a few of them trying to make that decision. But the idea that you have an off social community, it takes a little bit more work to get people there, to get people engaged, but then you do have that security of privacy, not having people have to be on social media, and owning the space, not having to worry about if it will get shut down tomorrow. But you want to think about what's going to work for your community. Where do they hang out? Where will they engage? Where can you consistently communicate with them? Because that is the key of community building, is that you've got a place where you consistently communicate with them. It could be a newsletter list. If you're using that to build community, you just want to think about it being a two-way street. A newsletter is not community unless you're using it and asking questions and getting response and engaging with readers, not just having that one-way push of a newsletter. You want to think about that in your content. You want to think about that in the way that you write the newsletter, ask questions, etc., if that's one of your strategies for building community. So you've thought about how you're going to make sure you can stay in contact with people. Then you think about, okay, where am I going to build this community? And is it going to be formal, or is it going to be a little bit looser? How do I make sure I've got consistent communication to the people that join my community? That's what you're looking for. And when you think about it for your job seekers, this is where we get into having a more consistent method of their communication. So I've talked to several job seekers recently, which isn't normal for me, but I got this gig where I'm talking some job seekers through using LinkedIn. And this has been a light bulb moment for them, that there's a process, there's a system you can follow to build community on LinkedIn through your comments, not just your content. We tend to get a little focused on content when we're coaching people, but it's really in that engagement that we build community. And you can do that on any platform that fits for you. Could be a Slack group, could be a professional association, blog, right? Find those places where you can engage with your community on a regular basis. And in fact, it doesn't even have to be social media, right? There's places that you can find outside of that. Now, the wonderful thing that we've been talking a lot about recently is how we can use new AI tools to make it faster to find some of those opportunities. So, in our Career Jam sessions last week, we were talking about how can you use some of these tools. And if you haven't done it yet, you've been hearing the buzz. Let me just tell you that you can still get Career Jam recordings and all the goodies that we talked about, and all of the goodies that are to come, because Career Jam attendees this year got access to our Trends and Tools bundle, which is Career Jam from last year and the Tech Jams. They got a lot of great stuff. You can still get that. And they're getting some things moving forward. So they get to come to Coaching Week as part of their Career Jam package. And then they're also going to get access to our AI in Career Services Sandbox, which is a reinvention of our prompt library. So I've been hooked on this idea of community for, well, actually my whole life, it turns out, is I've always been a community builder and joiner of some kind. My post today on LinkedIn was about my band camp experience when I went to Colorado State University and was in the marching band when I first started there. So thinking about that, when I first started the prompt library, it did have a community element, but it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. And so we've been thinking about how could we reimagine that? How could we do something different with that? And during Career Jam, because listening to your community does this, right? When you listen to your community, you get ideas about how to better serve their needs. We got this idea to do an AI and Career Services Sandbox. Now, if you're not a developer, you might say, well, a sandbox, like what is that? What is that? The sandbox in the tech world is a place where you can play around with it without the outside world having to see. So we are wanting to create a sandbox where you can play around with AI tools with your peers and be able to experience it outside of impacting your clients until you're ready to do that. And then, of course, once you're ready, bring those experiences back and share them with each other. This will be a moderated community. We'll have monthly office hours, and our moderators are going to post a weekly case study that will share with you how they've seen AI being used in the career space. You can really see it in action. What does this look like? So that's part of where we're headed with our community and helping build that piece of it. Now, if you're already in the Career Industry Authority, you will get access to that AI Career Sandbox that will be part of the inclusion in that community. But like I said, all of our Career Jam attendees are going to get to participate in that for this upcoming year, as well as join us for Coaching Week. So I enjoy this community building piece because it gives us an opportunity to really build on what each other are doing and to not have to do it alone. And this is what we want to build, especially for our job seekers. When they are job seeking, it's very lonely that they're not engaged with their work community anymore, right? Maybe sometimes even if they're still working, they don't feel engaged at work. So how can we help them find opportunities to build community, whether that's engaging on a social media platform or in a professional association or whatever it might be? We know that it's so important. Now, then you start to say, okay, we've got our system of building communication. We've thought about where we want to build our community. Now about showing up consistently and in a way that connects. We've got a lot of C's today, but the consistency is, are you on a regular basis, whatever that looks like for you? Is it twice a week I'm going on and I'm commenting on LinkedIn or engaging in a Facebook group? That consistency is important because otherwise you're not building those relationships, not going to help you get a job, not going to do business with you if we don't have that consistent connection. It's one of the reasons I love going live every Tuesday, is because it's really easy for me to be consistent with that and to show up and have this conversation with you all. Although I'm wondering if something is wrong with the chat, because y'all are usually chatty and today there's no chat. LinkedIn, it looks like LinkedIn is completely broken today, which is such a bummer. I don't know what the deal is. Well, it's because I complimented LinkedIn Live in a post, in a comment on Dan Roth's post, and now yeah, so frustrating. Don't ever give LinkedIn kudos, it turns out, because then the next day it breaks. Okay, thank you, Laura. LinkedIn's not working, but I'm glad you found me on Facebook. So good to see you. Yes, Hannah, watching in Facebook. Hello, there you are. See, that's why we can't just count on one platform for our community. And I know some people in our community that pretty much only do LinkedIn. It's a challenge, right? And where else might you want to start building community? Not that you have to do all the things, but you might want to have two places at least, where you're building community and making sure that you're getting the ability to connect with people outside of that space. So when we think about consistency and connection, consistency is that I show up all the time. Connection is that I show up to connect, which means that I'm not just bringing the content, but I'm bringing the community piece. So these other job seekers that I've been talking to about LinkedIn, they're thinking, oh, I'm just going to post information. I'm going to post a listicle, or I'm going to post an article, and that's fine, but it doesn't bring the connection. So it's hard to build community when you don't bring a little bit of yourself. It's easy to do that via video, although people are afraid of it. It's actually one of the easiest mediums to bring yourself to, because it's impossible not to. But if you want to do writing, we just have to make sure that there's a few sentences in every post that communicate your connection to the material. Doesn't mean it has to be personal, but it does mean it has to talk about, why is that important to you? Why do you think that? What's your opinion about that? These are questions that I'm often asking our fellow career services providers, but you can ask your clients when you're thinking about posting about leadership. What's your style? What's your approach? What's your opinion? Where did you get that opinion? Why do you think that? When we start to put a little bit of that into our posts, now people can connect with us, not just our content. And you can't build community with this kind of professional wall of only posting certain types of content, or only posting educational content and nothing else. There's got to be that connective piece in the communications. Just like if you go to a professional networking event, you won't leave with very many relationships if you don't get into discussions with people that go a little bit deeper than the surface. And again, we don't have to get personal. We just have to get it connective with, and making sure that we're showing up as that authentic person of why we're there, why we care, how we engage with the materials. So I really love talking about that community building piece. So regardless of what platform you want to use, tech or no tech, it really doesn't matter. It's about making sure you've got a process, because if you don't have a process, you really don't have you don't have a system. So we want to have that process. We want to find a place where we're going to build community, and then we want to show up with that connection and the consistency, and do whatever you can do where you can achieve those three pieces. If you have a platform where you cannot get people's emails, figure it out, do something so that you can get that ability to connect with them. And then thinking about how you want to build that on a consistent basis. If you can't show up to Facebook every day or every week or whatever, then it's probably not going to be a good place for you to build community in whatever that is. If the platform's not real great, which is why I hesitate to see LinkedIn groups, because LinkedIn groups platform is not really great. You're not going to see notifications about the group. You have to be really you have to be really careful and purposeful if you're going to do LinkedIn groups, because you'll have to go to that LinkedIn group link on a regular basis to connect. You're not just going to get notified that, hey, there's activity going on in the group usually. So those are the elements of community that I've seen make it happen. People do it in all different kinds of platforms and ways, and on social media, off social media, on in person, obviously. It just finding a way that works for you, for your business, or a way that works for your clients and their business. So next week, we're going to be talking a little bit more about business process. I know not all of you are business folks, but I think you'll get some things that will be good for your job seekers as well. And this goes to the 4 areas of business processes that we need to have. Obviously, client acquisition, the onboarding, the journey, and then offboarding. We're going to talk a little bit more about those next week, and how they're critical to the sustainability of your business, especially in a referral dependent business, because if you don't have a system for referrals, it's just a hope and a wish. It's not actually a business process. So we're going to talk more about that next week, leading up to an awesome redo of our boot camp with Venice Johnson. So Venice did a boot camp in August, and she's going to redo it at the very beginning of December, so that you can get your processes in place and be ready for 2024. So watch out for that, but I will leave you there, and we will see you here on Trend Tuesday next week and every week. And if you're wondering of content that you might have missed, you can always check out the YouTube channel. There's playlists there of the different types of content, and Career Thought Leaders YouTube channel. Subscribe, get notified when we put out new things, and we will look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for letting me know that you were there on Facebook. It's good to see you. I will see you next week.